I tried to learn about the labor laws, about paying under the table. Here it is, take it under the table. I won't have to pull any taxes out of it. I got caught. I can tell you, not a fun thing. I paid people piecework. And they would work long hours and make big money. I'm talking years ago, these guys were walking off the job with $1,200 a week. Carpenters were being paid so much a square foot for dropping plywood. I was building a lot of apartments. And all of a sudden, the wage board people sent out to everybody on my payroll a little card that said, did you ever work for this company? Yes. Did you ever work overtime? Oh yeah. Did they pay you overtime? No. You can't pay piecework and get out of paying overtime. Not when you get caught. So there are labor rules and things that you need to learn. And basically, 8 hours of work, 8 hours of pay. Keep it simple. If you're going to work them overtime, you understand that you take the risk that if you don't pay that overtime and they find out about it later by sending a card to one of your employees, you have to pay all the taxes and all the penalty and all the interest. So some of those things aren't worth doing. Let me make a comment about workers' compensation. Workers' compensation is not cheap. Workers' compensation is not good insurance. So why are you paying so much money for such pathetic insurance coverage? Here's the dirty little secret. Workers' comp insurance that you pay as an employer on your employees keeps them from suing you. It is a buffer. It's called a single remedy. In other words, if that person gets cut, that person falls, that person gets hurt, they go to the workers' comp for all their medical, all their rehab, all their reoccupation, or whatever it is that might be involved. And unless you are negligent, Dan, I want you to get on this backhoe. I know I got no safeties over here, and you got to watch that hydraulic hose. Boy, that'll whip on you. If I put you on a bad piece of equipment, you can come after me for some negligence. But in general, when you have employees and you're paying workers' comp, you're paying for a buffer zone so that they don't come to you and sue your family and sue your company and wipe you out. It's a pretty good remedy to keep you from being sued personally. You can get some other insurance. In addition to that, it's pretty reasonable that would take those odd cases that might come to you. So workers' compensation, it's not worth having. I'll tell you, we cover a lot of people. We cover a lot of contractors. And the contractor is paying under the table. Then a guy gets hurt and he wants me to come in and say it was okay, and get him covered. Cover that guy. Will you cover that guy? The answer to that is no. Nobody's going to take that liability. You get caught in that and lose your license, then you become subject to lawsuit for defrauding the workers' compensation carrier. So there are few things along that labor thing that you don't want to do. This paying under the table, working without workers' compensation will come back on you. There are new rules about every time you hire an employee, you got to let state agencies know it. Because there's this child support thing, and it goes all across the country. So when you hire somebody here, you only have 10 days. You have 10 days to notify the state of Arizona that you hired a new employee. So there's a whole bunch of things like that. Then they let the Federal Registry know, because maybe that guy came from Denver to Arizona to work and he's thinking that he won't have to pay child support. Well, there's new rules for that. And that's why, what I recommend for these kind of things, if I just read this list right here, it would be an extensive list of things that you have to do as an employer. W-2s, W-4s, 940s, 941s, 1099s. They've got more numbers and things than you'd ever want to know. This is one of the places that I recommend that you outsource that. Let somebody else take that responsibility. There are places that will do your payroll for you and you are still liable. And I try to stay away from that, because that means if they make a mistake, I'm still liable for their mistake. Well, if I'm going to be liable for somebody's mistake, I'll do it myself and be liable. So you want to choose a company. They're called professional employers organizations, PEOs, and you actually sign a contract making them responsible. Then they have to make the payments on time. They have to make the deposits to the workers' comp, and they have to do that. And that keeps you in a fairly good neutral zone. IRS comes to you and say, hey, I want to know why you haven't been paid. Then you can say, go see these guys. There are a couple things like that that I would not spend any time with.